Hi everyone, my name is Keith Brooks and this is Brooks Channel, and for today's video, I'm going to be reading the final chapter to my first Outcast novel's first draft. This will be chapter 12, which concludes the backstory for our final main protagonist, Darren. Last time we covered chapter 11, which involved Darren defeating the leader of the bandit attack on his home, the ones who are trying to steal the champion sword of his people, and also saving his longtime rival Aristide, who was not happy about it, and when everyone comes in to see, he ends up making some false accusations about Darren, or starts to. And we're going to see how that all goes down, so without further ado, let's open up the book and get started. Chapter 12. The entire shrine fell silent at that one word. Everyone just stood and stared at Aristide as he finally stood up. He looked over at Darren and pointed right at him, a look of malice on his face the whole time. "Darren Stone is a thief," Aristide accused. "He snuck into the shrine when I wasn't looking and hit me upside the head. Then he broke the sword's case and took it. Then, after he killed the bandit leader, he said he was going to be champion now." Darren just looked at him in disbelief at what he'd just heard. "He's lying," Darren shouted in defense. "The bandit's boss knocked him out when his back was turned. Then he threw me at the case, and that's why it broke. I used the sword to defend myself, but I never tried to steal it." Everyone looked at the two boys in silence as they each stated their case. "Just think about it, everyone," Aristide said. "We all know how badly Darren wants to become our champion. He clearly couldn't stand anyone else being chosen. With how long he's been dreaming of it, do you really think he wouldn't become desperate?" The crowd stayed silent, everyone lost in thought while taking in what Aristide said. Then, after a moment, they all looked at Darren, some with blank stares and others with looks of contempt. Darren looked back at them and quickly understood what was happening. You all really believe that?" Darren asked in disbelief. "You can't seriously think I'd do something like that, right?" Darren looked in the crowd over to his parents. Neither of them could meet their son's gaze, instead just looking away. Darren looked at them while feeling like his heart was sinking. "Darren," the mayor of Ravens Point said, pushing his way through the crowd, "we'll need you to come with us," he said. As he said this, two town guards stood behind him, both with swords in their hands. "First, I'll need you to hand me the sword," the mayor continued while holding his hand out. Fear began to overcome Darren's mind. Everyone was taking Aristide's side over his. He was just too well trusted and respected compared to Darren, and now it looked like he would be arrested and possibly thrown in jail. In his increasingly panicked state, there was only one thing he could think to do. He ran. Darren turned and ran to the nearest window and jumped right through it, ignoring the broken glass as he rolled around, before quickly getting back up and continued running, never once letting go of the sword. Everyone immediately chased after Darren. Most ran out the front door, while some followed him out through the window. Aristide stayed where he was, still recovering from the blow to his head despite his healing powers. Though even through the pain he still formed a devious smile on his face, satisfied that everyone believed his lies. Meanwhile, Darren continued running down the streets of Ravens Point. In addition to not wanting to risk being sent to prison, he also didn't want to fight any of the townspeople, least of all his own parents. So he kept on running, avoiding the people chasing him until he blindly ran all the way out of town. After losing track of Darren, the townspeople began to focus on fixing the aftermath of the battle. Some focused on repairing the various damages, while others disposed of the dead bandits' bodies and arrested the ones still alive. Once the majority of the town was fixed, everyone was called for a meeting at the town hall, the subject being on what to do about Darren and retrieving the champion's sword. The mayor and the rest of the town council unanimously labeled Darren a traitor for the story Aristide told everyone, as well as a thief for taking the sword with him. They even branded him a coward for choosing to run from the accusations against him. No one objected to any of it. Both of Darren's parents just sat in the crowd in silence, accepting the labels put onto their son. Aristide was called up soon after this. As the one chosen to become the next champion, he was tasked with retrieving the sword and bringing it home. He was also instructed to deal with Darren how he saw fit, either by bringing him back to stand trial or execute him. Aristide gladly accepted both tasks, already set on killing Darren the first chance he could. Later on, after what felt like an eternity of running, Darren finally stopped to catch his breath. He wasn't sure how far he ran, but Ravens Point was nowhere in sight. Not that he could go back either way. After the way he ran, no one in town would believe what he'd say. Even his own parents had no faith in him. In the end, Darren could think of only one thing to do to have any chance of clearing his name. He would have to prove himself worthy of the champion's title. Maybe then they would actually believe him. The question was, however, how would he do that? After thinking about it for a while, Darren remembered one of the stories his grandpa told him. Several generations ago, the descendant of the champion sword's creator had left Ravens Point. The reason was unclear, but they and their family have since lived somewhere between the south and east regions. In all that time, they had continued honing their smithing craft that created the sword all those years ago. If anyone would know how to unlock the sword's powers, it's them, Darren thought to himself. With that in mind, he knew what his mission would be. He tracked the descendants of the sword's creator and convinced them to teach him how to harness the power of the gods from it. Then, he would have undeniable proof that he was a worthy champion. Set on what he had to do, Darren continued on. He didn't know how long it would take, but he'd see it through to the end if it was the last thing he'd do. What he didn't know was that Aristide had already begun pursuing him. He decided to take his time, let Darren do whatever he planned in his tiny brain for a while. Then he would swoop in to end him and take what belonged to him. And so began the stories of the 6 young outcasts. Though they had different goals in mind, their adventures would cause several impacts and changes around them, some on individuals and others on the UR as a whole. Eventually, the 6 would come together and alter the fate of the entire world. For now, though, they were mostly separate, just starting their journeys, completely unaware of the trials and hardships that await them. The end. Yep, and that's the final chapter of my first Outcast novel. Yeah, I might need to workshop a few things in all the chapters, because like I said, this is only the first draft. But overall, it's basically how I want the story to go. Yeah, just covering the backstories for each of the main characters. I'm also working on some little bios for some of the key characters in this book. I might show those in another video. And I'm also planning to start writing a second book, which will cover probably 4 of the other stories in the series. Yeah, this is mainly meant to be a comic series, so it's probably going to be pretty long. So, yeah, not really suitable for novels. But like I said in the first video for doing these, this is just meant to help me flesh out the world building and the characterization. And, yeah, I apologize for my reading being a bit off. Yeah, I'm not the best public speaker. Plus, my handwriting's a little messy, so sometimes I have problems reading it. But either way, I hope you enjoyed listening to the story. And if you haven't checked out any of the other chapters, feel free to check out the videos for those. They're all in one big playlist. And I'll keep you all posted on when I finish up chapters for the second book, just like I did with this one. And I hope you look forward to when that one's finished. And yeah, that's about it. Not much else to say, so I'm just gonna end the video here. And as always, please let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments. And with that, I will see you all in the next video. Bye!